So welcome everybody to the April 27th, 2022 Economic Development Commission, of the town of Simsbury. I'm going to turn it back to Tom for a roll call for attendees. Bob Crowther, I'm the chairman of the commission.
Tom Earl.
Thank you, Tom.
Freeman.
Oh, hey, Brooke. Don't be shy, folks.
Oh, Charmaine Stevie. I didn't know we were going one by one.
Hey, Charmaine.
Hi, Bob, it's Maria. I'm here this evening.
Maria, okay. The new member of our team, Carrie Meckel, could not make it tonight. She's coaching a women's rugby team at the high school. So as practice, she'll join us for our June meeting. Is Ron on the call?
I don't see Ron this evening.
Okay, all right. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the February 23rd meeting. They were distributed to everybody prior to the meeting in the packet. Does everybody have a chance to read it? Any changes or edits to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. All right, all in favor to approve, just signify. Aye, great. Okay, so minutes are approved. So second item, presentation, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council Housing Subcommittee. Cheryl and Nicole, you've spoken with us in the past. We very much look forward to this presentation. I'll turn it over to you to introduce all your members on the team and to step us through your presentation.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you for inviting us to be with you tonight. We are very happy to be here back again, talking to all of you people. In addition to myself and my co-chair, Nicole Kodak, we have Rick Brush with us tonight. He's waving his hand there.
Hi, everyone.
Rick serves on both our housing subcommittee and our data subcommittee. So he's kind of our data expert, which we're gonna get to later on. But for now, I'm just gonna give you a brief overview of what we're doing and sort of picking up from our last conversation. We have launched a year-long community engagement process to develop a shared vision and a plan for inclusive housing. This project is being led by the Simsbury Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, a town committee of volunteers with support from the First Church of Christ Simsbury, who is our fiscal sponsor, and funding from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. Over the coming months, we are hosting a number of public events and opportunities to shape Simsbury's vision and plan for inclusive housing. We want this process to be informed by multiple perspectives, so we are surveying and talking with as many current and potential residents and other stakeholders as possible. And all of you are important stakeholders, and that's why we're here tonight. We value your input as we move forward with this process. And if it's okay with all of you, we will be taking notes during our conversation tonight so that we can include your ideas and perspectives. So we're trying not to make this all about us talking. We're most interested in what you have to say. We sent ahead in your packet the survey, and I think I sent the flyer for our upcoming program. That program is the first in our education series. We're going to do it, that one May 12th and another in September. And then we will launch community forums, hopefully one or two, with larger community groups having open discussion, sort of a roundtable format on the same issue. The goal being, as I said, developing a vision and a common understanding about what inclusive housing looks like, and what questions do we need to answer and address here in Simsbury. So I'm going to turn this over to my co-chair, Nicole, who's going to talk a little bit about our process.
I think you really covered it, Cheryl. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us. Yes, we're going to have 2 to 3 educational community engagement events at the library. The first one is the overview of our as-is housing landscape in town. And we have our new Director of Planning Community Development, George McGregor, is going to be a panelist. And he'll be giving that review. We've got the zoning maps to talk through, terms and our process. Ed LaMontagne will be joining us to talk about subsidized low-income affordable housing Section 8 and the differences between them. And then Rich Correa, residential and commercial developer, will be with us to just give an overview on the market from the commercial and residential side. What does the market from a developer look like right now? It's no decision making. It's just really educating people on what we have right now. I think our next educational public engagement event in September will be on options and considerations on what we're looking at, and where would be the areas in town, what things would not be possible, that kind of thing. Just sharing information with a developer, a lender, a real estate agent kind of perspective. And then the community forums, we really are going to be looking to engage as many residents and commission members, town leaders as possible, to just really get people in a room with a professional facilitator to go through, the process of, how do we start to create a shared vision for our town and where we go forward. And we'll be looking at the charrette so that we don't, cast that aside, that work that was done about 10 years ago. But, we don't want to recreate the wheel, but we want to hear people's voices and really feature lived experiences with different experiences in housing in the Simsbury town that we will have at each of our educational events and then our forum as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick to talk through data and then some of our survey questions, because we do want to spend our time with you really listening and getting your thoughts and perspective.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Cheryl. And thanks to all of you. Just so I have a sense of it, I wasn't sure how much time on the agenda we have, and I just want to be respectful of that.
We have till 6:15.
We're not going
Okay.
to take all of your time.
Oh,
Yeah.
That should give us plenty of time for us to complete our business, so go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. I'm Rick Brush. I'm a resident for 20 years in Simsbury, and really happy to be part of this Simsbury Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Council. And so data is an important part of this project in engaging the public related to housing in a couple of ways. One, we want to get as early in the project as possible a diversity of perspectives. So we want to understand where people are related to housing in Simsbury. And so there's two ways that we're collecting that data. One is through this public survey, which we hope to have broad distribution. Thanks, Heather and others, for helping us distribute that. We really do want to hear as many voices of the community members as possible so that we can build that into our process up front. And then we're doing these stakeholder interviews. So with boards and commissions, with individuals, with families, with current residents, with prospective residents. And these are a little bit more opportunities to probe and maybe ask 3 or 4 questions and just get additional input that we wouldn't have gotten in the survey. So we hope that you'll do both. And as I said, there's 2 ways we're using it. One is that we really want to inform the project. So as Nicole said, we have an education series. So we still have some flexibility in terms of the topics that we focus on in that education series. So if we see through the surveys that there's a lot of questions around a particular issue, that's an opportunity for us to focus an education session on that issue. And the same thing with the community forum. We want to know going into that forum, where are there potentially contentious issues? Where are there potential overlaps in what people really want? Are we starting to see some commonality, some shared values, and potentially shared vision around housing, so that we can be really effective in that community forum in leaving more aligned together. So we want to use the data in those ways, and then also we do want to see that at the end of this year-long education and public engagement process, did perceptions change? Did we start out thinking about housing in a particular way, and through the education and the community forum and the dialogue that we have as community members, did we reflect on things and think a little bit differently about housing in Simsbury. So with that, I am going to ask you just a couple of questions and see how far we get before you give us the hook or before we let you get on with your business. What we really love to start out with a group like this is to just understand the connection between what you all do, Economic Development Commission, and housing. So my first question is, how are housing and economic development connected? And I'm going to be typing, so if it's too noisy, I'll put myself on mute. But how are housing and economic development connected in your view?
Go ahead, Bob.
So I'll answer it two ways. As it relates specifically to our commission, and I've made this comment many times, even though we're called the Economic Development Commission, we really don't do economic development specifically, okay, as one might define economic development. We take direction from the Board of Selectmen. So we're very much a task-oriented organization. We work on the tasks that the Board of Selectmen view as important relative to the general area of economic development. But that's how we operate. So when you ask the question about how does it relate to economic development, in our commission specifically, it really doesn't unless it falls under one of those tasks. Now, separate from that, if you would just in general ask the question, how does housing impact economic development? My own personal opinion is I think it's obviously very important because the kind of community that you have and how it's perceived in the marketplace can attract quality people, diverse people, employers, employees, what have you, that want to come to a town that is progressive, that is diverse, that has multiple points of view. So I think it can be a very important driver of economic development if you are able to, articulate to the community at large. We welcome diversity, we welcome different types of people, because I think that's, when you have that in a community, that just helps the community grow and be much better. So my personal opinion, it's a very, very important driver. Others, please chime in, offer your opinions.
I'm kind of curious, Tom, since you've been to some of our meetings for the steering committee, how you see this intersecting, because you've had more interaction with us than many people have.
Let's see. I mean, I think to the extent that we, there are tasks that we work on to the extent we can communicate to other groups. We're all liaisons to other commissions, where we do a lot of other things. And so the more points of view we hear from different groups, to the extent we can communicate those in our own interactions with our other groups, and in our own work that we do, I think it's important. So my own personal experience, like with the Sustainability Commission, and looking at housing there and what we do, I mean, that's a very, very important element and a very important aspect of that. So, to the extent we can help promote your thoughts and ideas on what you're trying to do with our other groups as well, I think that's how we can interact, and that's where an intersection can occur.
I'd say that housing is extremely important personally for economic development, because if you can't afford a house here, or your staff can't afford a house here, or there isn't any houses available for sale or apartments for rent, or they're just priced out of whack, who would want to relocate even a small business here? So, especially small businesses, they might not want to spend all of their money buying an incredibly expensive house. So, and most companies, I believe, do want a diverse staff. So I think it all goes together. If there's no housing here for anyone and there's no diversity, how are we going to attract people? So, I mean, we can do all the surveys and do all the everything in the world, but if we don't have that, I mean, I can think of different places in the United States that I'd like to live. I'd like to go live in Lake Tahoe, but the average price per house is, over $1 million. So, forget that. So you go for a visit, but you can't live there. So, we do need to have a diverse group, and housing that's available too. I think goes hand in hand.
One of the things we talk about a lot in our committee meetings, as Tom knows, he's had to listen to us, is that when we say diversity and inclusion, we don't just mean race and ethnicity. We mean socioeconomic diversity and all different, whether disabled, abled, sexual orientation, whatever that looks like. Our core mission is to make Simsbury a welcoming place to live and work and raise your children and be. So that's where we are. So when we talk about inclusion and diversity, we're not solely focused on race or one particular thing.
And even different ages,
Mhm.
young adults, older seniors, and everything in between. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to establish is a town that has value for everyone, and I think the way to do that, one of the ways to do that, is to be diverse economically and racially and every other way. I think that adds to the quality of a community, and the more we can support that in our commission. And I really have to talk to Bob more about this. What specifically we could do to push this process along that your group has really structured and is moving forward on. I think we should be, as a Economic Development Commission, active in that process somehow. We could probably take direction from you, Cheryl and Nicole and Rick, on what you think we could do to help the process go forward and make some meaningful decisions and changes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's interesting, and I'm curious how you all, as an Economic Development Commission, feel about this. Is, I've been on a lot of committees and commissions, and there are lots of very well-meaning initiatives, like we are a bike-friendly community, an age-friendly community, a disability-friendly community, an LGBTQIA-friendly community. And for me, this sort of brings all those things together without, in a sense, segregating all of that out. And I'm curious how you feel about all of those initiatives to make us a friendly this or that.
I think your comment about segregating each one of those and highlighting each one of those, as opposed to integrating
Mm-hmm.
those, kind of break down the silos, if you will.
Right.
It's human nature to kind of focus on a specific group because everybody has a category. I mean, we have a daughter with a disability, and she lives and participates with the FAVAR program.
Mm-hmm.
And being involved in Special Olympics all these years when she was growing up, and still continue to work with her. Simsbury's been wonderful in support of all of that. And so you see kids with all sorts of different kinds of disabilities. And it's, the school system has been great. And the FAVAR program is wonderful. I would like to see us, I don't know how you get there, but just the idea of, we're all human beings one way or the other, and kind of do away with the labels, if you will, and just, focus on what it is each person brings to the table. I'm not really articulating that very well, but but it's that integration, we'd love to get to the point where we don't have to talk about different groups.
Right.
You
Well, and I
know,
know businesses are often asked to support one of those friendly communities or another, which is great. And normally there's a personal connection or whatever it is. But I'm just wondering how we bring that all together. And for housing, it's where do people with disabilities live? Where do, seniors live? Where do, where do single people, live? Where do people with kids and families live? It's all of those questions together. That's what I think makes it inclusive. So I'm curious how you all feel about that.
I think trying to get down to what specifically we could do, the EDC. One of the tasks we have is to follow construction projects that are taking place in Simsbury, and I'm sort of tasked to follow the housing development on Iron Horse, which is going to be 175 apartments, and there has been some talk about some sort of subsidized or diverse housing options and what that might cost. So I think maybe one way we could, and again, I have to go back to Bob about how proactive we could be, but I'm following that project and maybe talking with people about, is there some component to that project that could help this diverse housing issue? So I mean, that project has just has barely started. It's just doing the site work now.
and Chris Nelson has talked about making 10% of the units in that apartment complex affordable,
Right.
which is terrific.
Sarah, did you want to say something? I thought I saw your hand go up.
Well, I'll wait till after the commission's done. I don't want to interrupt, and then I can speak a little more broadly.
Brooke, you're very quiet. We would welcome your opinion.
Sorry, I have a cold, so I was telling Sarah at a call earlier this morning that I was going to be a little quiet today. I'm sorry.
Your thoughts, I did.
Boy.
Rick, did you have a different question?
I'd like to, I think one of the things that we want to do specifically with each stakeholder group is just continue to hear more about, like, where do you see, what are the, from your perspective, from Economic Development Commission, where do you see the benefits of more inclusive housing? And then, are there potential concerns or drawbacks? And then maybe a third, so, are there benefits to more inclusive housing? Are there potential concerns or drawbacks? And then third would be, are there specific strategies that you think would be beneficial, again, through a lens of economic development?
So the work we're doing with the marketing materials, I mean, whatever it is that your group is able to achieve, I mean, I would think we want to promote that as much as we possibly can through the new marketing materials. And those marketing materials will be shared not only by the real estate agents here in town, but by the chamber, by Main Street, be part of the town website or what have you. And all aspects of that will be, we'll be promoting that as much as we can to make the outside world see, we have a lot of diversity and opportunities here in town for residents of Simsbury.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions, comments?
If
Well,
people have
there's-
spoken, oh, go on.
I was going to say, I mean, there's only so much, well, I don't know what can be done with affordability, but, that's one of the problems Simsbury has. It's, I mean, even the apartments are expensive. There's not much low cost housing here. So if you're trying to build a diverse group, It's hard to, diversify based on people of different income levels. If you don't have a high enough income level, it's kind of hard to live here. So that, I don't know what you, the group, can do about that. We don't really talk about that too much about in EDC, but that's an ongoing problem.
One of the things we've been really surprised to find is some of the data on actual real estate sales in Simsbury is more affordable than you think. We have a pretty significant percentage of homes that sell either under $300,000 or even $250,000. It's affordable is one of those terms that we're going to talk about in our education series, because it does have a statutory definition, but I don't think when people talk about affordability, that's what they have in mind. Most people, when they say, is this house affordable, aren't thinking or whether they're 80% of the mean, Hartford County income is going to afford this house. That affordability means something different for different people. So I think it's important that we start to understand our terms and our definitions about what we're looking for and what we're asking about, because as soon as you say affordable, I don't care who you are, everybody has a picture flop into their mind about what that is. All those pictures look different, but there's definitely an impression that everybody has about what's affordable, and we'd like to get to that. And what is the difference between affordable and low income, and what does that look like? Because I don't think most people, if you ask them, what's the maximum income you're allowed to have to live at the Simsbury Housing Authority? I mean, how many people can answer that question? It's what other eligibility requirements are there for somebody to live at the Simsbury Housing Authority? Again, I mean, most people can't answer that question. I would say most people don't know where the Simsbury Housing Authority is, so they can answer that question. So that's so there's all different levels that we talk about when we talk about affordability, and all of those things are important, in the structure that we have as a community. Go ahead, Sarah. I see you want to say something.
No. I just was going to say a couple things. So housing is absolutely critical to economic development. It's not so much, there's a connotation or, everybody's definition of affordable is very different. So I know that people are starting to use the term accessible housing, and it's critical to Simsbury. So you look at the different workforces that we have in Simsbury, and we have everyone from Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense, which employs really highly skilled people from around the country. They choose where they want the job based on where they want to live. And all the way down to the segments where it's a little bit more transient population, they're working per hour, and so everything in between. And so Simsbury needs to really have as much diversity both in rentals and as well as purchasing as possible. I think that the committee also needs to do, and we've talked about this when you were on the Board of Selectmen as well, we've talked about educating the community as to how much housing stock we have that's under 275, 250. And that is really surprising. And that's about education and again, having accessible housing choices. I think we also need to talk about educating people. There's lots of people that have bought houses in Simsbury that say, I am so sick of the apartments. Why do people keep building apartments? Well, it's severalfold. First and foremost, for more than 2 decades, Simsbury hasn't had any new apartment buildings until recently. So now all of a sudden we have this big market for them, and we kind of have this push of lots of apartments. But with that, you look at the workforce, you look at, wanting to have places that are accessible for our teachers and our firefighters and our police officers to be able to live in Simsbury, our workforce. And that in return helps keep our property values so high, having multiple choices. There are so many people that come in as young couples that are kind of struggling. They don't have the money to put down on a home yet, or they're not sure Simsbury is right for them. And then they end up buying a house and raising their family. and so when that churns, it allows the seniors who might want to have a less maintained, they don't want to do the lawns, they don't want to do all of the yard work, but they still want to live in the place where they raise their kids. So having as many diverse choices, both for purchase and for rent, are critical. And then when you talk about accessible, remember that Simsbury has one of the only MS housing developments in New England. And so we could be very, very conscious of, again, what other kind of accessibility do we want in our housing choices? But it's critical to keeping, we don't have mass transportation. So housing choices that are diverse are even more important in Simsbury than, for example, in an urban setting where there's lots of mass transit, because it's harder for people who live in Simsbury to work in Simsbury.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be who's in charge of analyzing and assessing housing options or listing the housing options? Is there one sort of central information base that would list the housing options and their prices and whether they're apartments or houses?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Cheryl, maybe you've done some of that research already. I don't know, but that would be a great place to start, I think.
Well, we're working on that, Tom. It's a great question and it's a great point. Real estate agents will tell you that they are the best source for housing options. And we do ask them. We will have a real estate agent at our first housing program on May 12th. She's going to be there, to supplement the speakers that we already have. So in case there are questions about what those options look like, there isn't, I think, a central data point other than the real estate industry to tell you that, other than gathering, data from, the municipality, from the town clerk, things like that on that type of data, but that's harder to do. So like you all, we have been tasked by the Board of Selectmen to figure out what the question is that we're trying to answer. And is there a problem, that we need to solve? And, with all possibilities open, the first possibility is, we like it the way it is and we don't need to change anything. And then, all the way to, we need this or that. We are not policymakers. We are here to advise the Board of Selectmen and answer their questions. They asked us to form this housing subcommittee so that we could do that and explore these options. And we report back to them when Maria tells us to. And we have
You guys have an update coming up very soon, actually.
We do, yes. So that's why we're here. And I commend them for doing that. I've sat in those seats and it's hard to know. It's hard to wrap your head around all these things that are going on. So we've taken this piece of it and tried to break it down a little bit. And we were fortunate enough to get this grant so that we can hire some facilitators to help run these, the larger community discussions, which we're going to be doing in the fall. So that's where we're going with this. We want to, as I said, have a sort of a community vision. What are we trying to do?
One more suggestion, Cheryl, you guys did a great job with the survey, but it would be great to also get the perspective of some of the workforce that doesn't necessarily live in Simsbury, but may want to live in Simsbury. Absolutely. To get their feedback, because they might not be as, they might see the survey and think, oh, it's for residents only or what have you. So really kind of seeking that out, I think would also give a separate, different perspective on what people think of Simsbury and what they'd be looking for.
Well, we're hoping that people such as yourselves will share that survey. Go ahead, Rick.
No, that's perfect. My last question is going to be, who else should we talk with? That's a great example. And I love your follow-up, Cheryl, which is how do we reach them? And can you help us do that?
I can.
We'd love, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So with the public survey would be great. And if you think there's one or two or a small group who would want to have a stakeholder meeting in, you know, a confidential setting, we'd be happy to do that too, just so we can really hear their voice.
Right. So Sarah, if you give it to your members, you know, who are.
Well, we don't
local-
have members. We're a non-membership
You're a
organization, but I will
non-membership.
send it to all the businesses.
But there are business owners who have employees who might be
Yes.
willing to do
Agreed.
that.
And I think if we could, what I'll do is also then target a couple different, you know, because you want to hear from different segments. So I'll try to
Mhm.
target some of those segments to see if we
Right.
can, you know, get them to comment.
Well, like tomorrow we're going to talk to Culture, Parks and Rec, and they have a lot of employees. They also serve, you know, a different, you know, population in town. So same thing applies to a group like that. We went to the library first. They serve as, you know, sort of a community hub. Thousands of people go through the library every week, and they were very helpful. So we're looking to you and other leaders like you to help us with this, because we can't do it by ourselves.
And then the one final thing I'll mention is another perspective, which is really interesting, is if we could get parents who have children who have either moved away, like college age and above, right?
Mhm.
Get them to, you know, like Jeff Dornenberg told me for a while, his kid was living on his couch, you know, and it was because they couldn't afford to live in Simsbury. But like, if you could get some of those kids who have grown up from, you know, in Simsbury and get their perspective, I think you'd also find that very interesting and very helpful.
I could start with mine. All right, we don't want to take up all of your time. We very much
Well,
appreciate this.
Yeah, one final comment. We've got a number of business outreach visits being scheduled right now, and primarily our focus was to introduce George McGregor to these executives, what have you. But as we meet these companies, you know, we should be asking that question about their employees and housing, and how many of them want to live in Simsbury, and what issues and challenges that they see, and make that part of the dialogue as well. And so, to the extent we get some interesting feedback, we'll be sure to share that with you as well.
That would be so helpful. Thank you.
Great.
Now,
Nicole, Rick,
you mentioned
anything else?
you mentioned the survey. That wasn't part of a package that I got. Was that something we were supposed to
There
receive?
should have been a link to the survey in what I sent you.
Oh, it was a link? Okay.
Yeah, it said public survey.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
If not, we can send it to you again.
That'd be great.
You know, we can put it in a format that you can just forward, like you, Sarah, just forward with the link in it and the words all around it. Just that way it's easy to disseminate from your standpoint.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
The link is on our Facebook page too, so you
Okay.
can probably get it off the.
That would be terrific. Thank you.
Okay,
Was this helpful?
very helpful, very helpful.
Good.
Thank you so much. And this is again the front end of the process. So we hope to continue to engage you and see you at the education events. And you know, by the sort of toward the end of the project, we want to bring community stakeholders back together to sort of, you know, share what we're learning and where we think we're moving.
Okay, and everybody got the flyer. I mean, I forwarded it on to everybody. So hopefully the members from the EDC will be able to participate in that session on the 12th.
That would be great.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having us, and
Thank
we'll let
you.
you get on with your meeting.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Rick.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank
Thanks.
you.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, next item on the agenda. Stakeholder liaison updates. Sarah, you want to start with Main Street?
Sure. So just a quick recap. A couple years ago, in 2020, when COVID really was hitting, Main Street helped organize an outdoor dining committee. We requested from the Board of Selectmen as well as Zoning Commission. The Board of Selectmen requested fee waivers for temporary outdoor dining permits and any building permits that are related to tents. And from the Zoning Commission, we requested a expedited staff approval to be able to really get these permits and get our restaurants in the outdoor dining as quickly as possible. We requested an extension in 2021, and the legislator just extended the temporary outdoor dining bill through SB 5271, and it's good through April 30th of 2022. And the Board of Selectmen has very graciously extended their fee waivers for this project through 2023, April 30th, 2023. And we got zoning to also extend the staff approvals. So we've had one brand new request, which was Marco's Restaurant in Terriffill. And you guys may notice that very recently he has some beautiful outdoor dining tables and some umbrellas, and we have tons of renewals. We also have several of our businesses that have decided to do permanent outdoor dining features, Soma Grill and Ham Patos with popovers. And we got an approval process for Soma Grill within 7 days, and we're working on getting Pam Patos her approval for her stamped concrete patio. So it's going very well, thanks to everyone that's been a part of this, all of the commissions, the town manager's office. It's just, we have set the role model for how the state operates, and that's why the governor last year signed his outdoor dining extension in Simsbury at Millwrights. So it's going very well. We have successfully located several new businesses. Laban Patisserie, she's on the Food Network's Spring Baking Championship. She is a Simsbury resident. I spent 6 months with her trying to get her the right space. We showed her a whole bunch of spaces, and then as happenstance found, she was able to take over the old pastel space right next to the UPS store in Simsmore Square. So we worked really hard to keep Kim in Simsbury, which is exactly what she wanted. She was in Canton beforehand. We've been able to relocate 2 other businesses that were being displaced because of the amazing bookstore that Meg O'Connor is doing. One of them is Bird and Bee Wellness, and we've put both of those new businesses just a stone's throw away in Mill Pond Lane. So they're very close. They'll be able to see their old building, but we successfully were able to keep them in Simsbury. I was unfortunately not able to make the last public safety meeting, but I will be doing an update to the Board of Selectmen, I believe, on May 9th, Maria?
I think it's May 9th. I'll double check real quick while you're talking, but I think it's May 9th.
On the cell phone coverage. And the cell phone coverage that Main Street's been working on, again, with tons of amazing partners, the Public Safety Committee, especially Chief Baldus from Fire, Mike Berry and Jim Traficante from Emergency Management, and Chief Bolter from Police. So I really want to thank them again. It's been a team effort. We've been working on this. It's first and foremost a public safety issue, but it is a very close second that it is economic development. Connectivity was always important for the businesses and for our residents, but I think COVID and the hybrid and the work from home has made it even more incredibly important. And as we know, the hybrid model is not going away anytime soon. So we've made some great updates. Again, I want to thank the town manager's office as well as our team, because we are making great. It's been slow, but again, when you're dealing with major giants such as Verizon and AT&T, it moves a little bit slowly, but we have a great relationship. They're making improvements, and people are already starting to see the difference. You can now sometimes get a phone call in town hall, as Sean Askham has told everybody. So I definitely count that as a win. So we are slowly making improvements, but we've been working very closely with the town and the town manager's office. Tom Earl and I had the pleasure of seeing each other already this week. Just as a reminder, Main Street helped spearhead the Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense expansion a couple of years ago. We were in contention with 3 other states, and we were able to successfully convince them to expand in Simsbury. We used a variety of methods, including climate resiliency, the fact that we are on the knowledge corridor halfway between Boston and New York, as well as some modest tax abatement programs from both the town, and also I got something from the state of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. So you've seen a more than $10 million improvements to that facility through leasehold improvements, as well as through purchase of different equipment for all of their aerospace and defense needs. You've seen more than 100 high-paying jobs, everything from structural and mechanical engineers, marketing people, you name it, that have brought them to Simsbury. And they came back to, they already have a 10-year tax abatement, but they came back to ask for a very modest, under $8,000, half off the waiver of building permit fees. And the Business Development Committee, within very short order, unanimously approved it. It goes on to the Board of Selectmen. But again, they wouldn't be here to talk to any other organization if Main Street and the town of Simsbury hadn't stepped in to really make sure that they knew that this was the place to keep their business and expand. So I think that's a huge win from a couple of years ago that we're still seeing dividends. I don't want to talk too much more. I could go on and on about economic development, but I want to keep it brief. The final thing I'll end with is that we had a meeting today from the marketing committee. I will be able to send you guys it, but both Charmaine and Brooke can say we are absolutely thrilled with Jeff Dornenberg's piece. So I want to be very careful and clarify. We went into this knowing that we couldn't be all things to all people. That's not what a good marketing and rebranding does. It's while, Bob, we talked about eventually we'll get into housing and things like this. Based on our focus groups, we determined that they wanted a true tourism piece, okay? Because we want to attract people to Simsbury. We want to help a lot of the small businesses that were hurt during COVID. And then when you get them visiting Simsbury, they fall in love and they want to stay. Maria, I think, is a very good example of that. She came, she couldn't leave, and Brooke and others. So, we decided to make this piece truly a marketing tourism piece, but it's not done. So we start with this marketing piece, which I'll send around. And again, I'll let Brooke and Charmaine speak, but I know that they were thrilled. We got more than our money's worth. What I say, Charmaine, was like on a Costco budget, but we're getting like luxury.
I said better than a Costco budget. Better.
And it's true, like we're getting amazing, but we don't stop there. So the other piece is, once this is done, I'd like to keep the EDC involved in a couple things. Number one is we're going to put back our destination. So years ago, Main Street with the Simsbury Inn and the 1820 house, we ran packages. We had 3 packages that you were able to purchase through the inn. Package 1 was a bike package. You got the free bike, you got a picnic basket, you toured, you got the bike map and everything. Package number 2 was a Rosedale Farm wine package. And package 3 was a picnic under the stars, which included a picnic basket filled with goodies and tickets to the Talcott Mountain Music Festival. So we're going to bring back different packages again, because I think that really sets us up as a destination. Number 2 is off our website. While again, you can't do everything in one marketing brochure and one tourism brochure, then you want to start to call out all of the different themes. So Brooke, who's going to be expecting baby number 2 any day now, which we talked about, was saying, listen, I really like to look at what to do when I have family. There's what can we do? There's the petting zoo at Tull Meadow. There's the Boundless Playground, Antonio's Restaurant, etc. So we will combine, an entire theme around family-friendly experiences. The second thing that we'd like to do is combine almost like it's like an events, right? Like if you're having anything from a small bridal shower to a baby shower to a really lavish wedding, what are the businesses and the services that you would potentially want? Where can you get makeup artists? Where can you shop for wedding gifts, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll start with those 2. And as we finish them, then we'd add a couple more. And we could put it all on the Shop Simsbury website. So it really drives people because recognizing that the town website, as I think it's beautiful because we helped, revamp it, but I know there's some issues. But the town website is a municipal website. People go there to find out when is the next Board of Selectmen meeting? What does the budget look like? Where do I, how can I drop off things to recycle? It's not meant to be, nor can it be, a full-on business tourism website, but we have Shop Simsbury. And so really utilizing that as a vehicle for driving people. And again, Main Street as a arm of economic development arm for the Board of Selectmen in the town, we allow any bricks and mortar business in Simsbury to promote there for free. We are the only place that lists every Simsbury restaurant, in town. So I think that, once this marketing package is done, our work together is not. So, and that with that, I'll let Charmaine and Brooke, if you wanted to mention anything.
Well, I think Sarah covered it all, as she always does, and is always very thorough. But one thing we did talk about is we are going to print some of these, not a bunch of them, because printing is very expensive. We will give some to, Simsbury Inn and a few other locations, which actually I served on tourism committee for many years, and we disbanded right about COVID time. But we used to have printed brochures that we would leave in Simsbury Inn, as well as some other locations. And we've been missing that for years. And there is, online is great, but there is something to be said when someone checks in the Simsbury Inn, and Sarah was explaining how, we feel they would continue to put it right in on the check-in desk, not on the wall with everybody else's. That you pick something up and you see, the different things going on in Simsbury. The different things we have to offer here. So, and also we also talked about was, yes, we're trying to get people from other towns to come here, but also, people that live here invite people here, and it's their first time here too. So here again, part of the brochure also was to not make, there's misconceptions about everything. And, part of a misconception is that people of Simsbury are very snobby, and, I don't think any of us here feel that's true, but, that's a, misconception, or is what some people think. And I think it came out in this survey. And, Jeff did the best he could with basically some clip art and things. It would be great if we had money for photography to go to all these different places, and we don't. And that's another thing that he did, was make this look very professional, because it is very professional, but he didn't spend $10,000 or even $5,000 on photography. So he was able to do that. And we talked about kind of like adding to this. So, maybe we do have some pages to come about, more family oriented. What's there for families to do? Or, I know that Simsbury is a really big place for weddings. I know that from tourism. So, if we had an additional sheet on, weddings and party events or things like that. So this, as Sarah's saying, is just the start of even more things to come. And it's a great starting point.
And I will mention, we did include very smartly, again, in this really very low figure that Jeff provided, we did include some printing costs as well. So we do have a nominal amount to print, and I do have some ideas on possibly getting some free printing, but I'm working on that. But again, it's really, I think he did a beautiful job. The other thing I should mention is I don't want to thank the person, but we did get we didn't spend any money on photography, but I did get professional photos donated, the use of professional photos donated that somebody else had spent a lot of money on. So that's why 95% of the photos are fantastic, but we are looking for one beautiful photo of people eating in a restaurant. And so you might have seen that on Facebook. We've already had some people starting to post that, but if you guys wouldn't mind sharing that post, because we are really looking to get one fantastic photo if we can. If not, we could use the stock photo, which Charmaine and Brooke and I thought was just fine, but it'd be really great to, if we could.
Because even if you take a picture, even if you had a professional photograph of, someone eating at Millwright, someone eating, at all the different restaurants, it's small space. So, it's like a picture of me, you don't need a picture of my entire office. It's got to be two smiling faces, or, a family of smiling faces, or whatever. So.
But the next step is, I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. Brooke and Charmaine were thrilled. So next I'll email it out to everybody in the group for your feedback. But like I said, I think Jeff did a fantastic job capturing kind of a casual, but really inviting tourism brochure.
And then there's a lot of outside. We discovered the great outdoors of Simsbury once COVID hit. And we've been here 36 years. So you couldn't go anywhere. So what else are you going to do? But, we really do have trails and rivers and, playgrounds and all kinds of things here. And I think he captured that in photographs also. So I think it's an excellent, he's a professional. And we're lucky in Simsbury that we have so many people who are really good in their fields and they volunteer their time.
Yeah,
Like,
this was a very big in-kind donation, just so you
Yes,
guys
exactly.
understand.
And he
then
lives here,
yeah.
you know.
I just wanted to chime in quickly too on the Project Maria that we talked about with the website for the town. And I had indicated to Sarah that it sounds like there's some editing to be done on her end with, you know, lists of restaurants and lists of, you know, things to do. And so I was sort of going to not wait, but use that in conjunction with the project for the town website, just to give a status update on that. I haven't gotten a chance to really dig in and sort of find areas that could use improvement, but that did come up in today's meeting. So I just wanted to let you know that that was kind of our idea, was to utilize some of the websites that are listed on the brochure to our advantage, so we're not reinventing the wheel.
And then the final thing, because we have Heather on the call as well, is again, this is step one. And, you know, we will be coming back to the Board of Selectmen, not just to share what is a big victory and, you know, something that hopefully you guys will enjoy as well, but then also to talk about some very modest funding as we continue, because there's other pieces to this. There's other, you know, you can't just do one beautiful brochure and say you're done. And I think working with the EDC, especially if you guys will give me Charmaine and Brooke again, I think we're great. But you know, they have such good comments throughout the process and suggestions. And I think as we move forward with these other pages, both the themes and the destinations, that it'd be really exciting for Main Street to work with the EDC again.
Terrific.
And that ends my, I'm going to be brief. I'm going to not finish. That ends my report for this month.
That's a heck of a report. Thank you very much. Morgan's not here for the chamber. I will make just one general comment. The Government Affairs Committee of this past week had a presentation done about the economic value of the Greenbelt. And I know there's money in the budget to increase the bike path up through Terriffill and connect it into Bloomfield, ultimately down into from Bloomfield to go down into Hartford. But, you know, he talked about the economic value that greenway brings to a community. And it was very well received by the business community. And so I thought it was, you know, just a great presentation and discussion. Since that's part of the budget, and May 3rd is coming up very quickly. Just a quick promo. Everybody's got to get out and vote for the budget. It's a lot of good things in there that are going to help the town going forward. Ron's not here for any update on zoning, so we'll bypass that. Design review, we've had several meetings over the past few weeks. More on the table. We continue to participate in those sessions, but nothing really exciting to report about. Sustainability, we are working very hard to assemble all of our work products, if you will, that will go into our application. The application is due by the end of August. There's 12 different categories, and different individuals have responsibility for different sections of that. I've been working with Sarah, with Morgan, with Melissa, and others to help in the category around a local and thriving business community. So we'll assemble all that, but that's all due by the end of August. Tom, anything else to report on the Spirit Council?
The Spirit Council is not the Spirit Council anymore. They've changed their name, so we should probably change that.
What's the new name?
Good questioning. It's a longer name.
It is a longer name. It's the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council.
Yes,
so thank you for catching that. We will definitely update the agenda next time. Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. And I'm trying to focus on. They have several subcommittees, so I'm trying to focus on their housing subcommittee. So when those meetings come up, I try to attend those meetings.
Okay, great. Thanks. And any quick update on your development project?
I wandered out actually onto that project yesterday just to see what was going on. Not much happening there yet. I'm not sure. I'd love to see or talk with someone who knows their schedule going forward.
I happened to ran into Chris Nelson at an event. I asked him, when we're going to start to see shovels in the ground, and he said there was an issue with the EPA at the state level, that a hurdle he had to overcome before they could start doing that. I don't know, Sarah, do you have any updates on that?
She had to just hop off, but I'll see if we can get an update for you on that.
I'm just kind of curious because that's a huge project and there's a lot of very exciting aspects to it that I think people are going to be very excited about when it's all said and done. Any other comments, updates from the group? Okay, we've got 10 minutes to get through our work plan. We'll get through that as quickly as we can. I think the marketing one, we've pretty much got an update on that and excited about the work that's been done and very excited about what's to come. So look forward to seeing what happens with that. Business outreach, we have a number of meetings scheduled coming up. Tom has been working very hard to pull that together. We have one tomorrow afternoon at West Street Wines in your office, right, Maria? Okay. A meeting scheduled on May 3rd at Phase 0. Tom, I sent you a note, or Tom Fitzgerald asked me, I'm going to be out of the country starting May 3rd, actually May 4th. So I think, don't we have Fitzgerald's on May 3rd? Is Tom Fitzgerald here?
Yeah, let me just check the calendar. That one's coming up as well.
Because I got a calendar invite for that today that I could
May
do.
5th. I think it's May 5th. Fitzgerald's Foods.
Yeah, but I think he sent one out for, I thought, May 3rd today. So,
Some of them got rearranged from the list I gave you this morning.
okay, so when is Fitzgerald's?
May 3rd.
May 3rd, okay. And is that one we can have multiple people attend?
They got flip-flopped.
Okay. All right, so Cure Leaf is scheduled for May 6th. Tom, a lot of these, I'm going to be out until the 18th of May, so hopefully you can participate in these. May 6th with Cure Leaf, May 10th with the Jacobs, and then 5/24 with EBAD. And then I know you're trying to schedule Donald Nobel and BMW skating. And the primary objective of this meeting was to introduce George McGregor, our new director of planning, to the executives of these firms and have George start to develop a relationship, with these companies that are so important to our town. But also take the opportunity at that time, to talk about any issues or challenges that they're seeing. And I think, raising the issue about their employees and housing options here in Simsbury will be a very good topic of discussion with them.
Are all these meetings in-person meetings? I assume.
We are
They
trying to
are.
make it in person.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are.
That's fine. I can make a lot of them. I just have to check, but
Okay,
I can make a lot of them.
okay, good.
Thank you.
And those that we can open up to the other members of the EDC, we'll be sure to let you know, just so others on the commission want to attend. You're welcome to participate. We'd love to have you participate in those meetings if we can. So we'll
Yeah.
see what plays out.
Yeah, Bob, I'm just going to jump in quickly. Thank you for mentioning that. There are a couple of the businesses that we're visiting due to security clearance. We're limited to sort of a smaller group on those visits. And since our main purpose of the most recent visit was to help introduce George to them, there are just a couple that we have to do a tinier group. But most of our visits we can have a larger group, which is
Great.
great.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. On the business outreach to the task to create welcome letters and or packets for new businesses, collaborative key stakeholders reach out to new business monthlies. I did talk to Terry Meckel and she's agreed to take that on
Oh, that's great.
as a work assignment. So I told her I'd hope to sit down with her before I leave and then kind of give her my thoughts and ideas on how we might want to organize that. So we'll get moving on that.
Wonderful.
Tom, we talked about development project update. The next item there is the updates, the economic development portions of the town's official website. Charmaine or Brooke, do you have any updates on that?
No, like I said, we were working on this other marketing thing, and Brooke's about to have a baby, so.
She's a busy lady.
That's
Got
one
a
of the
lot
things
of-
that's mine.
Brooke, when's your baby due?
Next Friday.
Woo. Well, I hope all goes well.
Yeah, me too. I hope it's before then.
Okay.
My
just
second
had a-
I was 5 days early, so, maybe
Yeah.
you're any day now.
I'm hoping. My first was 2 weeks late, so
Yep.
let's hope that that doesn't happen again, because that wasn't fun.
Well, Mother Nature will let you know.
Yeah.
I guess the one question I have about the website development and stuff, and I don't know how we do this, but Main Street has their website, Chamber has theirs, the library has theirs, we've got ours, if you will. A lot of the materials, though, that an outsider coming in would want to see. He should be able to come, if he thinks it's under economic development, he come to the town website, look at the economic development website. He should be able to get access to a lot of the materials that maybe reside at the Main Street website or at the Chamber website or at the library. And so creating a navigational capability, if you will, so that the document or the content is only stored in one spot, but being able to navigate from any location from where someone might come in is something I think we probably want to be able to do.
Well, we're going to have to do it with links because,
Yes,
it is
absolutely.
it is a municipal site. So, we're not, the arts and entertainment, it's town meetings and all of those things and schools and commissions and everything else. So, and we discussed that today when we were having our meeting about the brochure and everything. And that's where we're like, we've got to continue, but it is a municipal website. So, we can have links and things like that, but we're not there to entertain everyone. But they if they can't think to go to me, most business people I would think would know how to Google the Simsbury Chamber, but we should have a link and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point, is just make sure we have the proper links in play, and to the extent it's as user friendly as we can make it.
Yeah.
So that would be.
Yeah. We talked about this, I feel like it's been over a year at this point ago, but, just sort of compiling all of the links that currently exist and then what lives at those links. So there shouldn't be 17 different links that talk about, which restaurants you can go to or where to find the best bagel,
Right.
And there should be, there should be one link or one, uniform sort of, when we're recommending restaurants, we know that shopsimsbury.com has an up-to-date listing, and that's where we're gonna direct people to go, or we need whatever their question may be or whatever they're looking for, somebody who's not familiar with the town. But I think it starts sort of with or at least from what I can remember, that was one of the big issues, was that there were many links and many different sites that sort of housed similar information, but none of it was consistent.
Right.
So you could go to 5 different websites to find a listing of, I want to find a pizza in Simsbury, where do I go?
Right.
And we can really kind of pare that down. And Sarah was saying that she's done a lot of work on her site. So I'm hopeful that, now I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm hopeful that, just by the edits that she's made, we can utilize that on the town page just by providing her link to that site. So actually one of my goals while I'm on leave, when I'm not busy with work, will be to focus on this, because I know I did promise that I would do it, and I'm happy to do it. I just haven't done it just yet, but I think that we've got kind of all the tools. They're a little unorganized at this point, but we can bring them all together and get it in a place where I'm hopeful that, like, by this fall even, we can have some uniformity, and hopefully it would be in conjunction sort of with this rebranding so that it can all flow together.
Or at a minimum, a plan on how we could get there.
Right, right.
Yeah, that would be terrific. That would be terrific. Thank you.
And
You're
Brooke, when you're back, you know, when you have some time, you know, we can just chat via Zoom or on the phone or whatever and get it worked out.
Sure.
I'm convinced.
Great. Okay. Maria, just real quickly, any updates on funding for our infrastructure project?
Are you referring to the chambers
Yeah.
proposal? Yeah, so the ARPA work group has shifted to the finance subcommittee. And I don't believe that the chamber has yet had an opportunity to present all of those proposals to that group. So that's something that Melissa and I will definitely, you know, work with that group to go ahead and get scheduled. And Heather is now part of that group, which is great. So we'll make sure to do that.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, with that, we're coming up on 6:45. So any other topics we wish to discuss? Any other comments before we adjourn?